All right, this is hole number 14. This is the new tee pad location. For those of you who haven't been paying attention out on Facebook, you can see there's kind of a little dirty area up there. That's where the tee used to be. It was kind of silly. It was right behind the white box. I hadn't even thought about putting it back here. But now this is actually, it's a pretty good shot. It's about, I'm guessing about 310, maybe 320. And sorry about the bounciness. My hip is a little bunged up right now, not walking too good. But anyways, so I have big plans for this hole before Texas States. And let's see, I'm gonna get down here. First off, let's look at the flight path itself. I feel like it is just a little bit tight. That tunnel that you're hitting, or that gap that you're hitting up ahead, is only about 10 feet at the top and maybe 15 feet at the bottom, and it's only about 8 to 10 feet. I'm thinking that may be a little bit tight, and I hate the idea of taking out that left-leaning tree up there. I think it's a pretty good guardian, and I suppose people could go up to the right of that. So, I don't know. I'm also seeing, let's see if I can point it out here. There's a little tree branch. It kind of curves like that. A lot of foliage on it. I thought if that was gone, that might open things up a little bit more, be able to run at the basket a little bit better. At the same time, it'll also add a little bit more risk. For the people that go through high, you're not going to get knocked down. You're going to sail right across the creek. So that's what's going on there. Just think about that, and let me know what you think about whether we need to open that up or if that is a fair hole to try and hit. Now, this is the water hole, which was playing casual for. It was just a kind of little tiny creek, not much bigger than that before. As you can see, it's getting much bigger. And the plan is that by Texas States, you can kind of see the wood stakes going around here. That whole area, pretty much everything in view there right now will all be water. Hopefully not too deep, maybe 1.5 feet deep, so we can still fish discs out of it. And let's see if I can get up and over here. There's going to be a dam over on this side that will hold that water back. And the creek over on this side will still continue to feed it, especially when it rains. It will get all washed out. So one thing I am thinking about doing, which could be really interesting, is I'm thinking about right here. There's where I talked about doing the dam. Rather than doing it there, I'm thinking about putting it right here instead. And then I'm going to pump water from that creek. Doesn't take much, you know, maybe even a couple gallons a minute, pumping up along this dry creek bed up here. So that this is from the drop zone right here. So it's hard to get a little depth perception, but there's this kind of dry creek bed that goes around and works its way back around there to where the pond is going to be. So if I can make that wet, it'll do two things. First off, we'll use that to also supplement the water coming into the creek, because the water will flow through here and then it'll dump into the creek into the pond here, rather than into the creek over there. And secondly, it'll make this a really cool little peninsula now, because you'll have an OB water that goes in front here. You'll have OB water on the tee pad side, and then you'll have OB that's running back around the back side of the basket. So there's a lot to think about there. Not sure if I can get that all done for States, but that's kind of my plan right now. I think it would be pretty cool. When it's really wet out, it holds plenty of water, so it shouldn't be that hard to get some water running through there. So one other question I have is, we have these OB flags that are running along the creek right here. And as typically we like to do, I think I mentioned on another hole, we like to have the high side of the creek bank be OB rather than just call it water. And that's so that we have a consistent OB across all seasons. Eventually I'm going to have little PVC, white PVC stakes going around everything to block it off. My question is, on this one, should we make it in the creek and beyond OB, or do we want to give people a chance to putt across from that side over there over to the basket? I kind of like this one like it is. I don't see much need to change it. Especially, I don't know, as I look at people possibly just pumping it long and putting from over on that side. I think I'm pretty happy with the decision, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. And real quick, I want to talk about 15 as long as I'm here. No sense stopping the video. Just not a lot going on. I've trimmed up a bunch, and as you can see, it is really pretty open now. One thing I noticed on the scoring on this during the Piney Woods, or during the Rose City Disc Club outing last weekend, is that there are a ton of threes on it, not a whole lot of twos. In fact, I don't know if anyone twoed this last weekend from the gold, which, by the way, is right up there, throwing right over my head and right down there. It's a pretty tough shot. I think some of the trees that are way down there, some of the small ones, could probably go and they would give you a better shot at probably landing on this side and skipping across. That's really the ideal shot for this hole. So I think that's probably going to happen. I don't see much reason why not do that. Any other comments you have, let me know. Let's see, as I look at hole number 16, 16 was really, had the worst scoring separation of any hole out here. And the main reason for that was that most people, if they got into trouble, could still get to the basket and hit the par. And I think there was only 1 or 2 birdies on the hole. And there's a big tree mid fairway that's going to come down, that's going to make it even easier to get up there. So it's going to be a 2 or 3 hole, which is just not very exciting. So one thing I'm looking at doing there is putting in an elevated basket somehow, with some steps going up to it, something kind of picturesque that we can put the name on it because it's so visible from the driveway coming in. And that will kind of cause some scoring challenge, especially if there's any wind out there, or if you're putting from a little bit further away. On that hole, you're putting uphill pretty significantly, so it's going to be even harder to knock those longer putts down. I think that may add another 1/4 of a stroke or even half a stroke to the average on that hole. So we'll see what happens there. 16, that's 16. 17, nothing too excited. And on 18, I think it's pretty good as is right now. I did a lot of cleaning up so that it's a little bit easier from the gold fairway to get around the corner. So I think right now we're in pretty good shape. So these are the changes that I'm looking at doing. Love to hear your comments on those. Sorry this video is so long. It's hard to talk about the course quickly. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this. Love to hear your comments. Thanks.